Hi there, guys. Welcome to another video. In my technical channel, that is very rare for me to make this much technical videos, but I'm making this because it felt like an urgent demand to me because of the redundancy factor and because of some kind of responsibility that I felt on myself, being part of AI safety domain and not being able to do something on mass level is something that I'm not very much occupied with. But I think AI communication, AI safety communication is something I can do good enough. So I was just trying to focus on that. This video is majorly about bad implementations of AI use in our daily life, and I'm trying to cover it majorly from environmental point of view and how it affects humans given the human parameters that we have evolved with. But obviously there are some implicit problems with AI use. If you really want to get into this field, I would highly recommend anyone coming to research field in AI safety or AI to look deeply into this domain of AI and environmental problems or AI or psychosocial problems, because yeah, it is an as important topic as AI capability or AI safety in general. And I think it is part of both AI safety and AI capability in some other way. The whole segment of responsible AI comes here, I guess. So this video in no way I'm trying to promote stopping the whole AI safety or AI research in general, because again there's is a very senseless idea that I see from a lot of angle. Like pause AI can make sense through some angle, like giving some time to humans to adjust their pace with machine development, and you can watch my video for gradual disempowerment to get more on that. In no way I'm promoting to not use AI at all. All I'm trying to communicate is that we should use AI sensibly. But from a point of view from environmental factors and the factors that I'm going to discuss in the video, I don't think halting AI capability development research makes any sense. So I'm not at all promoting for that we should not work more on AI. At the same time, this video is also not for the people who are anti climate change kind of people, or who don't believe that climate change or pollution and these things are real and it's all just a hoax, or this is just a like large phenomena in which humans are not playing any significant role. This video is for none of those people, along with the people who believe or think that whole climate change or pollution thing is a hoax, and who think that AI development is useless. This video is also not for those who like to shift blames quickly instead of taking some responsibility or having guts enough to take some responsibilities. That is, whenever it comes to like personal care of environments by minimizing our carbon footprint, like the first thing that they say is that some high class people or some celebrity is taking jet plane from one place to another and creating way more pollution than I can create in all of my lifestyle. And basically all that argument that no matter how much I minimize, someone else is maximizing it a lot. It is, this video is also not for them, because I cannot understand how can someone be this senseless and stupid that they cannot comprehend that the best we can do is what we can do on our end, at the same time trying to enforce some kind of systemic force on people who are doing it on large scale. That is obviously, you should do protest, you should do all kind of things to stop pollution by these large players or the people who create pollution on large scale, by protesting, by making some policies, by forcing government to make some policies. But at the same time you should also focus on your own AI footprints and try to reduce that. The changes that you can make from both larger scale changes by probably making some policy that limits the amount of jet flight that one a celebrity can take, and the amount of change that you can make by just closing a light bulb that is turned on uselessly is drastically different. But it's fundamentally about the amount of change you can do, because the one on large scale is hard to achieve, so you can do the thing on small scale, and doing that thing on small scale will help you develop that kind of passion or that kind of motivation inside you that can help you properly focus on this protest and do it with all focus and attention, that can help mitigate the other reason also. So I'm not saying that the player who do it on large scales should not be stopped, but I'm saying that that should not be used as an excuse to do wrong on small scales. I can convert it to other examples, like if there is war going on in some countries, that doesn't justify that you go and murder people in your city. No, war crime and killing people in war is also not good, but at the same time going and murdering people is also not good. You cannot justify that many people are getting murdered in war, so what's the value of a life? You cannot use that as a justification to go and murder people in your city. Similar kind of logic applies to most of the things, and especially in this context of AI, it is senseless to say that it doesn't matter if we let AI go hands free and let it create as much pollution as we want, because if we don't stop it, people are already creating it some other way. No, that's senseless. We should stop them, and we should stop these also. This is, I guess, the first video that I have ever made in which I had to do some research on my end so that I can get my facts correct. Because although I am pretty much sure, given my own background in AI, to know how these things work from a technical point of view, from the computational point of view. But then also I read some things here and there, like some blog posts, some Substack articles that said otherwise. And when I got deeper into it and why they are saying that, yeah, the environmental implications are not that bad and all, then I basically got to know the classical marketing thing and the whole propaganda stuff and all that I don't really indulge into. But yeah, this is one of the reasons why I have done like a fact check kind of video or factual video rather than just talking about some idea and concept. And I will also make a PDF with the research that I have done, the discussions I have done through Claude, and the thing that I have verified in the description of this video. So if you want to read things in detail and verify whatever I'm saying, you can go and read those articles or those resources below. I think those are reliable enough because it makes intuitive sense to me based on my own technical understanding of how LLMs and AI work. And at the same time, the sources are reliable enough because like of the credibility thing or of the authority that they hold. So yeah, I think it is true enough. That is the only reason why I'm talking. But again, I am a student of philosophy as well, so whole epistemology, justified true belief, I get that. Okay, so I have this tablet with me in which I have written down my notes or taken the notes from online from Claude and made a kind of list so that I can talk properly about this thing in a more factual way. I'm not going to talk much about the points that I'm going to discuss in this video because they are actually factual points. There's nothing to be talked about. It's not a concept. It is just a factual statement that you can verify, that you can see in stats and data. There's nothing much to talk from a conceptual point of view. Therefore, I'm not going to talk much about these points and merely going to read them out loud. Okay, so first of all, the most important thing that I should cover is that I'm not majorly talking about inference cost whenever I'm talking about a cost in terms of compute in this whole video, because most of the articles that I see talk about AI and how the implications of AI is nearly negligible or equivalent to other sources of internet, is that they just refer to inference cost or the whole pollution or carbon emissions that goes through inference. But I know it's like basic ABC of any AI thing or LLM thing, that inference at this moment is the least computational part. Like everyone knows that. So just talking or just judging a whole paradigm or a whole segment of use of technology just on the least case of pollution is like very senseless in the first place. But I get this is how marketing work, this is how whole propaganda stuff work, using fallacies and stuff. In this video, first I will cover AI and environment segment, or the problems or the topics or the information that are significant enough from my angle to be talked about regarding AI and its environmental implications. And then I'll go to the factors of how market and AI work together. How does market uses and talks about AI and how it is beneficial to them. And then I'll come to the psychosocial behavior or the AI obesity segment of how AI is affecting humans also on larger scale, and why we should not use it even from our own selfish reasons, and why it should be very much responsible with AI use. And then lastly, I've also gathered a kind of table that does a comparative analysis of something better that you can do instead of just going to AI all the time. So yeah, the first point in AI and environmental segment is that AI infrastructure demand vast land. Hyperscale data centers average 30,000 square feet, with large exceeding 1 million square feet, equivalent to 17 plus football fields. I tried my best to find an equivalent of the 17 plus football field in an Indian context, but yeah, I was not able to do that properly. But yeah, you can think of it like some monument that in India is like very largely celebrated, that falls between this range of 30,000 square feet to 1 million square feet, like Taj Mahal or something, if you want to get an idea. Well, obviously, there can be a very reasonable point that what other better use we have of land. But yeah, land use is just starting point of acquiring resources that can be used in other ways, except for just massive AI data training centers and uses. Training consumes massive electricity. Data centers used 415 terawatt hour globally in 2024, 1.5% of world electricity, projected to double 1945 by 2030. So yeah, electricity use obviously is very common to be in large amount. And the problem with electricity use is that still, with all the technology we have, with all the renewable resources we have, a very large amount of electricity that is used in this kind of data centers and for AI comes from non-renewable resources. So you can directly convert this electricity use to energy use, and this energy use to pollution cost, and how this is obviously estimated to double by 2030. So you can see the trend also going very rapidly high. Power grids under strain in 7 US states. Residents faced 4.3 billion in additional transmission cost in 2024 for data centers power infrastructure. So obviously when I'm talking about electricity use, then it is not like they're generating electricity next to the data centers, although some very large players in this whole AI game, including Meta and all, are doing this thing. But majorly the whole power grid is generally strained a lot because of generation of power at some place and then use of it in these infrastructures. And also, even if they can like set up a whole nuclear facility next to them, then also the power grids get affected. So the problem is not just in high demand or high uses of electricity, but the heavy uses or strain on the infrastructure for moving this energy or moving this electricity from one point to another point, causing a lot of e-waste kind of thing, or waste of grid system that we have already established. E-waste crisis accelerating. Between 20 to 70 million hard disk drives in US reach and end of life, mostly shed to landfills. E-waste contributes up to 20% of facilities life cycle emission. Obviously these things run on technology, and technologies get obsolete very quickly, especially in the hardware domain. So even like not talking about hard drives, that's like very obvious that it is heavily strained in data storage and in the whole ETL process. So obviously there's huge use of hard drives and these kind of storage technologies. But even the most advanced technology that we are developing, like GPUs and CPUs, they also get obsolete very quickly. When I say very quickly, obviously it's not like 6 months, but in case of LLMs and AI use, it can be like it's around nearly around 5 to 7 years. And especially given how fast the requirement is and innovation is, so the best technology that was, I guess, 3 4 years ago in with even from NVIDIA and all, does get absolute very quickly by 25 26, and with the new Rubin chips and all. So those even hardwares like GPUs and all are getting obsolete from there. Entire technology pipeline is strained. Hyperscale facilities consumes 20 to 26 million liters of water yearly for cooling. USA, Texas data centers will use 399 gallons of water by 2030. So water use is another very huge problem with AI at this moment, because it is used in multiple angles, majorly for cooling down the whole hyperscaled server farms. AI emissions approaching aviation level. AI boom in 2025 released CO2 equivalent to entire New York City, representing 8% of global emission. So yeah, it's like a very good equivalence that we can already see with aviation department, with the whole flight thing that we have. We already criticize it a lot, and we can use that as a reference to be able to properly criticize or focus on the problems that we have with pollution or CO2 problems with AI. Now, the obvious question that anyone might have is, if it is such problematic thing, if AI use is such a problematic thing from an environmental point of view, then why is market so much booming with AI, and why is everyone promoting AI left and right? Even companies are promoting for heavy AI uses, and why, like, yeah, why the use case or the implementation is heavily promoted instead of demoted, as I'm trying to demote AI use in some way. So the basic logic here is that market runs on currency, on money that doesn't directly translates to environmental or pollution cost or carbon emission cost. I think it would be a great unit if we somehow make a money system that is in terms of carbon emissions or in terms of pollution, basically. But again, I'm no one into to talk about economics, so I think this is the main reason, because market is trying to optimize for capitalistic system, for economic system, and that system is not having any proxy or any direct correlation with environmental or pollution cost. So that is why market is doing the opposite thing, because optimizing for money is more important for the market compared to optimizing for better environmental condition or optimizing for less carbon production. But at the same time, because of the social pressure, because of the government pressure from the whole environmental studies that we are having, all companies do have this kind of, I don't know what to call it, marketing trick that they're playing while having this small segment about environmental cost in all of their keynotes. But still, I think this is more of a marketing trick than actual work in the domain of doing anything for the environment, especially with the context of AI in mind. Companies prioritize growth over sustainability. Google emissions rose 48% from 2019 to 2023. Amazon's emissions increased from 64.38 to 68.25 million metric tons in 2024. Companies prioritize growth over sustainability, that is, they are prioritizing capitalistic and economic force more than CO2 minimization or these kind of things. Market doesn't price carbon. Two-thirds of additional electricity generation for data centers around 2035 will come from fossil fuel, despite renewable capacity goals. So as I talked in my first segment, that market also doesn't incentivize in the electricity domain. Like again, AI pipeline is not just about these companies who are doing this whole AI domain thing, like data centers, OpenAI or CoreWeave, these kind of companies. But again, as I said, electricity is a huge demand, or plays a huge part in this thing, because that's the energy that we are using here. So the electricity focused companies are also not much uh, carbon oriented or pollution oriented. That's why they're also not minimizing that, and they're trying to maximize for capitalistic profit. And that is why they're also maximizing AI use. They would like to maximize AI use because they can sell their electricity more efficiently. Investment follows bubble dynamics. Climate tech funding fell 40% in 2024, $51 billion versus 84 billion in 2023, as investors switch to AI ventures. You can see nearly in every advertisement, or in name of every company, or in the focus of every company's keynote, that all are basically going towards AI in some other way, and the whole market is basically slowly going towards AI. So yeah, that is how funding is also moving here and there. Semiconductors emissions surged. AI chip production emissions grew fourfold in 2022, with manufacturing in fossil fuel dependent Taiwan, South Korea, Japan. As I said, the whole pipeline is getting strained, and in the domain of semiconductor chip production, again, that process of semiconductor chip production also leads to carbon footprint. It also has its own inputs in terms of water, in terms of electricity, that causes pollution. So AI is not causing pollution just by directly the water use that it does, but also indirectly by demanding a lot of more uh, GPU or CPU chips, whose manufacturing itself require a lot of resources, that causes pollution eventually. So yeah, as I said, multiple sources of pollution, because it's a whole pipeline thing, from electricity production to chip production to water requirement to electricity. Like yeah, the whole power grid is training, e-waste, like there's a bunch. The whole process is at this moment maximized in a way that yeah, there's pollution at every step. Support transparent sustainability. Tech companies use outdated carbon accounting, erase millions of tons of emission through questionable renewable credits. Again, humans are humans. Humans tend to find any optimization game that they can, and I have seen this like in a lot of actual documents that I have read of a lot of companies in terms of pollution and environmental cost, that they use shady methods to account for pollution and account for sustainable development, and that leads to a lot of problem. They have this senseless kind of methods in which they plant tree in some other place by cutting trees, or doing pollution in some other place, completely playing by the fine lines between the rule book, basically the constitution and all that they have, because it is not mentioned about the ecosystem phenomena, the flora fauna phenomena. Therefore they don't even account for that, the classic cases of proxy optimization and proxy gaming. And the whole segment of greenwashing, you can just read about it more on internet, how greenwashing is a big phenomena that was already there, with a lot of other problems with data centers and all the things that was happening with internet. But yeah, AI has just escalated it, or it has just catalyzed it to a even worse level. Now these were the environmental reasons and the reasons why market is not directly interfering with the whole AI thing. But now it comes to like personal use, like an individualistic point of view, and why you should be very much responsible with AI use when you are doing it in your own life. So the first point, cognitive offloading strongly correlated with AI use. R is equal to plus 0.72, that is like 0.7 to 72% correlated, and inversely with critical thinking, R is equal to negative 0.75. Significant negative correlation between AI tool use and critical thinking scores. So basically, the whole logic is that because of a lot of AI use, there is very strong shift towards cognitive offloading that we are doing in various ways, and because of that cognitive offloading, there is very directly correlation to critical thinking depletion in people. So overall, the math is like 0.68, negative 0.68 correlation between AI use and critical thinking. Younger users more affected. 42% of young French people use generative AI daily. Younger age group showed strong negative correlation with critical thinking. The stats I talked about earlier was a general case, but yeah, younger people show it more because their mind is still in development phase, and they're getting used to doing this cognitive offload thing in their training phase itself, not in the use phase. Therefore, they are more exposed to it. They are more prone to even severe effects of what we're already seeing with this AI obesity and cognitive offloading. Hyper specialized learning reduces resilience. Students using LLM experienced reduced cognitive load, but demonstrated poorer reasoning and argumentation skills compared to traditional methods. it is like a very common framework that there is a good amount of boring, let's say boring or phases that requires you to develop resilience in yourself when you're learning anything or you're going through any kind of new thing in your life. And since things are getting very hyper specialized or just made in a way that is optimizing for entertainment and dopamine receptors and all, therefore one of the critical skills that one should develop, that is resilience, is not getting proper chance to bloom in people. Therefore they are not developing these essential fundamental skill of resilience and being able to handle things that are boring to them just because it is important, and then waiting and working with long-term gratifications to develop that kind of skills. So yeah, they're not even getting chance to develop these skills because things are getting hyper specialized and they're getting things made in a form that is more entertaining to them. I can give a lot of examples of it. This is also a problem, the fact that you need to go through a bit of suffering in a way that can help you develop resilience is also important. A skill, it is also important in passion development and a lot of phenomena like this whole psychological phenomena behind going through suffering for something. AI companionship increases isolation risk. Research shows users developing parasocial relationships exhibit decreased interpersonal skills and emotional detachment. Very common thing I can see in a lot of memes that we have at this moment in the market, with a lot of creators talking about it in different ways, how parasocial relationships are being formed with these chatbots that we have at this moment. And since a lot of people are not that technically savvy and are just like front end users who don't really know what is going on in the back end, therefore for them it's again the Turing test is passed at this level that people are able to develop parasocial relationships. So yeah, they're like just naive users. They don't know that it is just next token prediction or it is just predicting what you would like to hear, that kind of thing, or what makes more sense. And for them they are anthropomizing things on that level that they assign agency, they assign personality, they assign persona. And yeah, it's getting chaotic. Their whole fundamental logic of relationship is getting distorted in them. And again, this thing is also more chaotic in younger users because it's the developmental stage in their life. Talking about the environmental point of view, how you can minimize that. So I see a lot of people using at this moment LLMs to even search for things instead of using things like Google or any other search engine for that sake. But as I said in the initial part of the video, that inference is not that cost heavy. In all of the video I talked about trading majorly. So inference is near about same if you take like an average case with search. So in that case you can avoid, but at the same time you have to see the indirect implication that if you're doing inference, then you're promoting the companies to make even more better models, and for that they will do training. So inference is an indirect path to training, and training is pollution heavy. So yeah, if you can, then try to avoid searching things through LLMs and search through Google and get through different links. I know it will be a bit hectic, but I think it will be something that can develop resilience. And if it is not that important for you to like get the answer very quickly, you have time and you want, you can go through a bit of other things, you want a bit of exploratory sense of the problem, then again you should directly go for search instead of going through LLMs. And you can go through LLMs if you're not satisfied after 3 or 4 iterations of search. That is like heavily useful for your own individual problems, that is like whole AI obesity thing. And at the same time it is better for the environment, and obviously market will be incentivized in a negative way, and then they will go in a negative way. Market is just works on incentives. I have some numbers here in this specific context. I'll just put on the screen. It doesn't make much sense to talk about them because they're just numbers. I cannot add anything more to them. And yeah, some of the important ones that I would like to talk here is, if you want to search for factual things, again, it is very sensible to search, just to go for web search instead of going for LLM search. And LLM for thinking takes even more resources, so obviously you should try to avoid that. Even in inference now, like LLM, while thinking, that is yeah, test time compute, that is test time compute, it is doing computation while test time also. So it is as much inference cost plus some more cost. So these were the fundamental problems with AI use, or I would say senseless AI use. In no way I'm promoting to not use AI at all. All I'm trying to communicate is that we should use AI sensibly, have AI literacy, know how things are working in background, know how things are affecting different aspects of human form and human society and the earth itself. I'm not at all in any way trying to promote for not using AI, but I'm just trying to promote a sensible use of AI, not to use it senselessly, basically. And obviously, I'm no one to say how to use AI sensibly in your own use case or in your own specific life with your own specific developmental skills, with your own specific learning styles. It is you who knows you best, or someone who, like your parent or your teacher. So I would rather recommend you consult them. or at the same time you can do a bit of your own introspection to get to know how you would like to learn things, while being very clear that you would not like to get overly dependent or be AI obese in a way. Yeah, that's all for this video. I hope it was good enough. Bye, take care. Just go through the factual information, that will help you more if you want to develop some better understanding or want to talk about it properly somewhere. Have a good day. Bye, take care. इधर इधर
अच्छा लग रहा है।
तुम्हारा चेहरा अच्छा कर नहीं आ रहा है ना, वो तुम्हारा चेहरा ही गंदा है इसलिए अच्छा नहीं आ रहा है।
दोस्त मेरा चेहरा बहुत ही अच्छा है।
बोके इफेक्ट अच्छा है ना, ये जो ब्लर कर दे रहा है बैकग्राउंड थोड़ा थोड़ा।
हाँ।
पर ये जो चेहरे पे चश्मे में दिख रहा है रिंग लाइट, ये अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है ना, इसे लग रहा है अंदर में आंख में घुसे जा रहा है। लाइट बंद होने पे डेप्थ की फीलिंग आ रही है ना, डेप्थ की फीलिंग। तुम्हारा फेस ज्यादा फोकस में जा रहा है ना, उतना उसका फोकस लेंथ है ही नहीं कैमरे का। तो ये वाला फ्रेम फाइनल है और ये ऑडियो चेक भी फाइनल है मेरा। उसको चालू करने से डेप्थ खत्म हो जा रही है, डेप्थ खत्म हो जा रही है, ये मेन दिक्कत ये हो जा रही है। Okay, final audio check, final video check, final framing check, final lighting check.